Hey there, I'm Tomas Michaud from Real Guitar School and thomasmichaud.com. Most guitar students know that they need to practice techniques and exercises to get better at their guitar playing. One issue I deal with often is knowing where that balance is between practicing and exercise enough to get the benefit from it and when it's time to move on. Now, I want to talk in this video about two stumbling blocks that I see are very common and how you can most effectively deal with them. A question I often get asked by students is, when I'm practicing an exercise, when is it time to move on? This is an excellent question, actually. And before I talk about it specifically, I want to mention two stumbling blocks that are very common. The first stumbling block I call the attention deficit approach. Now, in our society, we are programmed from childhood to think about quick and easy. We're bombarded constantly with advertisement on how to get quick and easy. If I buy this six-pack of Bud Light, I've got instant friends and sex appeal. Well, maybe it'll take a 12-pack, but we'll see. If I had the perfect automobile, I would have everything I ever wanted in life, and I can even get it with easy monthly lease payments of $199. Now, there's nothing wrong with quick and easy, and I won't knock it. I'm all for quick and easy. It's just that sometimes it really doesn't work. It's important to know when those situations arise, because they can lead to a lot of frustration and even giving up. When learning the guitar, it's important to practice the material long enough to get sufficient progress before moving on to the next thing. Now, if you're anything like me, you'll practice something for a little while, feel bored, and want to move on to something else. Well, guess what? You're normal. Of course, that's assuming I'm normal. Now I want to talk about the second stumbling block, which I call the perfectionist approach. And you guessed it, this is that tendency to want to get something just right or perfect before moving on to the next exercise or technique. Now, I don't know where this tendency comes from exactly, but I've seen it often enough. It's really just not an effective strategy for learning a complex skill like playing guitar. First of all, you'll probably never get perfect. I know I'm playing exercises I've learned 20 years ago, and I still don't think I play them perfectly. Of course, my standards have risen, and they're probably going to continue to rise. Understand that some of the improvement will come long after you've moved on to other exercises. What you're looking for here is a healthy balance. That means making a good judgment call when it's time to move on to the next thing, and then combining that with some kind of review so you can go back and see where you're still at. I use what I call the 80% rule. What that means is that practice and exercise up to where you feel it's about 80% of where you want to get to in terms of being just right, and then move on to the next exercise. There is no perfect about this, and it is a judgment call. In fact, I often tell students to aim somewhere between 70 and 80%. That way they don't get too fixated on an exact number. I have found that most people can make a reasonably good judgment call, and that gets better over time. The idea is, holding on to the 80%, it helps you push past that feeling of wanting to just move on to the next thing before you're really ready. And at the same time, the idea of 80% keeps you from trying to get to perfection. When you hit 80%, you know it's time to move on. A part of what really makes this work is building regular review into your practice schedule. I'm still amazed that sometimes when I go back to something after many weeks, I find I've made improvement even though I haven't actually practiced it for a while. There's no exact interval, but I usually recommend about every 4 weeks go back and review what you've been working on. If it's something that's more complex, you might want to hold off, and 6 or 8 weeks might be more appropriate. If you're working on a lot of smaller things that you can go through pretty quickly, maybe every couple of weeks kind of take a quick review, make an assessment where you're at, and make more decisions. This process will help you actually see your progress and at the same time make more decisions on what you want to practice for the next 4 or 6 weeks. Thank you for joining me for this short lesson. If you're watching this anywhere but on my blog, please head on over to my blog and leave me a comment. Good, bad, I'd just like to know what you're thinking. And feel free to suggest something you'd like to see in a future lesson. Take care for now. See you soon.